remember that day like it was yesterday, even though it's been months now. The sun was just starting to dip low in the sky, casting a warm amber glow across the winding country road. I was driving my usual route, transporting a load I wasn't even aware was going to cause so much trouble later. The truck was heavy, loaded with what I thought were harmless supplies, just part of a regular delivery. As I approached the narrow stretch of road that cut through the heart of the rural area, something unusual caught my eye up ahead. Right in the middle of the lane stood a donkey, solid, sturdy, and completely immovable. His name was Jasper, though I wouldn't have known that at first. He wasn't just standing there, he was glaring at me with that stubborn look only a donkey can have, as if daring me to try to get past. At first, I slowed the truck, expecting him to step aside quickly. After all, I'm driving a big vehicle and animals usually know when to get out of the way. But Jasper didn't budge. I honked the horn gently, trying to shoo him, but he just planted his hooves firmly on the dirt, his ears twitching but his resolve unwavering. I tried edging the truck closer, inch by inch, but Jasper remained steadfast, blocking my path. I stepped out of the cab, hoping to coax him away with some calm words or maybe some food, but the donkey just stared at me. No fear, no hesitation, just pure stubbornness. Local folks later told me Jasper was known for his strong will, but that day, his defiance felt like more than just simple stubbornness. There was something about the way he stood there, as if he was guarding the road itself. I checked my load again, feeling a bit uneasy. I was carrying a shipment of food supplies destined for a small wildlife facility nearby, something I'd done plenty of times before without issue. But the longer I stood there, watching Jasper block the truck, the more I wondered if there was something more to this. Local residents soon gathered, curious about why the road was blocked. They knew Jasper well and were amused by his antics, but they started telling me something that really made me stop and think. The food I was carrying, apparently, it wasn't just any food. It was something that, if spilled or mishandled, could harm the local wildlife in this sensitive environment. The area was home to protected species and delicate ecosystems, and any mistake could cause serious damage. I felt a knot form in my stomach. How had I not known this? The company had packed the load as usual, and I had no reason to suspect anything dangerous. But Jasper's standstill was forcing me to slow down and really think about what I was hauling through this precious land. As the sun lowered further and the shadows grew long, I realized this wasn't just a simple roadblock. Jasper was giving me time to reconsider, to check the cargo properly, and to make sure nothing harmful got into the hands of the wrong people or ended up where it shouldn't. I had to figure out what to do next, but for now, Jasper's silent protest held firm, and the truck sat there, halted by a donkey whose stubbornness might have just saved a whole community of wildlife. The evening air was cooling fast as I stood beside my truck, still blocked by Jasper's unyielding presence. I had no choice but to admit that this was no ordinary donkey stubbornness. Jasper wasn't just being difficult, he was protecting something important, whether he knew it or not. With a few of the locals gathered around, I decided to open the truck's back doors and inspect the load carefully. What I found confirmed their warnings: the cargo wasn't just food for wildlife. Some of it contained additives and preservatives that could be highly toxic if they leaked or were consumed by animals in the wild. This wasn't immediately obvious from the outside packaging, but once you looked closely, you could see the warnings. I felt a wave of guilt. I had been driving that load through this fragile ecosystem without knowing what harm it could cause. If a spill happened, if any of this food got into the hands of wild animals, it could devastate the local population. Everything from small birds to larger mammals depended on this land. The people around me started talking about previous times when trucks had rushed through, leaving trash or harmful substances behind. This area wasn't just beautiful, it was delicate, and the community worked hard to protect it. Jasper, in his own silent way, had stopped me from adding to that damage. As night fell, we agreed that the load needed to be rerouted. The company had to be contacted immediately to arrange for a safer delivery method, one that wouldn't risk the wildlife or their habitat. I called my dispatcher and explained the situation, which led to a lot of questions and some frantic rearrangements. Meanwhile, the locals helped me secure the area and keep Jasper calm. It took hours of waiting and coordination, but in the end, the truck was unloaded under strict supervision. The harmful parts of the load were handled carefully, and replacements were sent in with better packaging and clear labels so that future drivers wouldn't make the same mistake. Before I left, I walked back to Jasper, who stood quietly by the roadside, his mission complete. I knelt down and patted him gently, grateful for his stubborn stand that had stopped more than just a truck. It had stopped potential harm to an entire ecosystem. Driving away that night, I felt change. I realized how often we take nature for granted, rushing through without understanding the impact of our actions. Jasper's roadblock was a wake-up call, not just for me, but for everyone involved. That stubborn donkey became an unexpected guardian, reminding me that sometimes, the smallest obstacles are there for a reason. And sometimes, listening to those obstacles can make all the difference.